to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. And while plenty members of the media aren't here in the building, at least yet, good luck finding what happened in this game, unless you follow this guy, Anthony SanFilippo.
I'm a little close to you. I think I'm going to have to slide
Press
over.
Row Show. Welcome in. It's a great day. The second half of a back-to-back. We were here yesterday afternoon. We're back here again this afternoon, and we are so grateful that you have welcomed us onto your phone, your tablet, your computer, your TV, wherever you are. Let us know where you're checking in from. I'm sure that all of our friends over in Finland and elsewhere in Europe are very excited about the start time today as well. Makes it a primetime game for them. And all the fine folks in the Delaware Valley are just out having a blast today. A nice afternoon game as your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers welcome the paltry, the woeful, the dismal, the disgraceful Ottawa Senators to town.
It's that bad.
Oh, it's that bad, Buttercup. Fewest points in the conference. Granted, they've played a few fewer games. However, bad team, and they are led in part by the former captain of this team, Claude Giroux, who there have been images going around of late where people
played 4 fewer games than Columbus.
That's what I was saying. I said fewer games.
Yeah.
I said yeah.
Yeah.
And I will just point out there are people on Twitter who've been posting pictures of Giroux looking dejected on the bench, saying, did they break him? Which has then led to other people saying,
bring back Claude. Give him a chance in a Stanley Cup here with the orange and black.
Anthony, are you excited about today's game? And let's be real.
No.
Is anything less than a 2-goal win a failure from your team, your town?
I don't think that. I don't think that a win is a win, right? I mean, you don't. You know, you're playing on a back-to-back situation as well. You played a very fast team in Colorado yesterday. Had to probably expend a lot of energy. I love that they're checking in.
That was pagan. That had to be pagan.
Absolutely pagan.
No, we're not going to get the specially curated thank you to the city of Philadelphia that never came.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that this game can be a little bit tricky. I mean, I'll get a prediction out of the way. I think the Flyers are going to win today. But I mean, I still think it can be a little bit trickier than people think, just because of, look, Ottawa played yesterday too, and they had to travel and all that. I get it, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about the fact the Flyers played 11 forwards yesterday, and then they had to skate against, arguably the fastest team in the NHL in Colorado. You do expend a lot playing against a team like that, and it does have, it has trickled down impact.
Yes.
On a game like today. So again, I don't think that it's going to affect the outcome, but I'm not going to sit here and say anything less than a 2-goal victory is a disappointment. No, a win.
I will.
Get the win.
I will.
Get the win. You get the 2 points, and you're happy with it, and you rest up tomorrow as you prepare for Tampa on Tuesday.
Ottawa's a bad team. The Flyers,
but they have some talent.
They do. They certainly do. I mean, if you let's play this game. You go back to the beginning of the year. One of the things that people said about this Ottawa team is they look like they're about to kind of round that corner, turn that corner. And they had what was perceived to be a significant enough amount of talent, especially some young talent, mixed in with a veteran presence like a Giroux. And you said, all right, well, they should be like probably like a bubble playoff team, somewhere in like the bottom end of the playoffs.
I thought that they were a playoff team beginning of the season.
And they have not. I mean, look, anything can happen, right? We're just past the halfway point of the season. But, it hasn't worked. What is it from what you've seen that has not worked? Why is Ottawa in the situation they're in?
They've had a lot of turmoil, right? I mean, they had the whole question about it, the ownership sale leading into the season, and that finally came through.
Yeah.
Then you had the whole Shane Pinto thing where he's back in the lineup. Today's his first game, by the way, after his 41-game suspension for betting on hockey.
I bet it's going to be a big game for him. Huh?
He's back in the lineup. So, I mean, you lose a player like that who's a solid player. I mean, that's a really key piece to their team that was missing for most of the season. And then, of course, they underperformed a little bit, got their coach fired, brought in a veteran temporary coach in Jacques Martin, who has not really been able to get them to do much. I think they're 5-9-2 since he took over, so it's not like they've been playing good hockey, since then. So I mean, really, it's just kind of a lot of unexpectedly dour
There's
things.
just a bunch of things that can't
and
happen.
goaltending, the goalie got hurt. Now they're playing an AHL kid today against the Flyers. So, like, I mean, really you kind of have a lot of things that kind of snowballed on them, as can happen to a team, right? I mean, things can snowball on a team in a bad year. This Ottawa team should be better. There's no doubt about it that they should be better, and they're not. But they still got some players that can put points on the board. They can score against you. They're not completely bereft of talent. They're not like a sad sack guaranteed bottom of the standings.
They're
type
not
of
like
team.
a typical Buffalo team.
And let's point out.
Oh, there's more.
And let's point out that the Flyers played a team like this recently and lost to them.
That is true.
When they lost to Columbus a couple weeks ago, right?
Fair point. Fair point.
So just to point out, you can't just underestimate the team and just assume it's going to be an automatic victory. I think they win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's a situation where the circumstances surrounding it aren't the greatest. I don't think Owen Tippett's playing. I haven't seen an official announcement on that yet. Did they put an official announcement
Say it again?
out? Did they put an official announcement out about Owen Tippett not playing?
No.
I don't think he is. I know he skated this morning.
The statement had been that Briere was going to update everyone on whether or on some kind of an update. I would assume then that if he was skating this morning, that the idea is they did the X-ray. The X-ray was negative for a break or a fracture of any kind. Obviously, you wouldn't have him on the ice if that were the case. And then maybe you look at doing an MRI just to check for like ligament damage or whatever. What are the?
Well, he skated this morning here before they opened the building to the fans. He had trainer supervised skate on the ice just to kind of test it. So you know
why he's doing that, right?
Well, the fact that he can skate tells you it's not as bad as it could have been, right?
But you know why he's doing that?
Why he's doing that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because he wants. There is always something as a player that when you are traded in the way that he was traded, where he was viewed as being kind of like this didn't work out, change of scenery. I think there is always going to be part of you as a player. And when Bundy's here, we'll ask him about it during first intermission. The idea, I think, is that he probably wants to prove that, like, Florida made a mistake in trading him.
Yeah.
And in fairness, well, I'm sorry, that is a stupid point because they're playing against the guy that he was traded for, not against Florida. Yeah, I just talked myself out of that.
Good.
He's going to go up against the guy who he was traded for.
I'm glad you talked yourself out of it while you're sitting there reading whatever.
It was a really stupid thing. No, it was intern Andrew. So Delorier comes in for Tippett, according to Charlie O'Connor. Bill Meltzer says, as noted, Tippett skated earlier this morning.
Yeah.
As expected, isn't in warm-ups. Brink skated this morning too. Delorier and Stahl are in warm-ups. Jackie Spiegel, frequent guest here twice. She, of course, is from the great borough of Staten Island. It's a deep cut. If you know, you know. She says the lines are Forster, Couturier, Konechny, Farabee, Frost, Atkinson, Cates, Lawton, Hathaway, and then you've got Delorier and Paling. They're going with 7 defensemen again. I don't know what we're doing here.
Well, I mean,
Zamula is apparently the extra. Stahl will not play.
Yeah.
At some point, Ant, we have to have the conversation. I know that it's worked a lot, but like you can't keep doing the 11-7 thing.
Yeah,
especially when
agree.
you're thin at forward. And again, you're one forward injury away, like Tippett, and like the game where Farabee got hurt, where you just don't have the horses.
You know, and I'll get to that in a second, but I do want to answer Bob's question that I popped up on the screen because a couple other people commented on it afterwards, and I just wanted to make sure that I addressed it. So, serious question, Ant. Didn't you say the Flyers had interest in Pinto? Could the Flyers pursue another trade for him possibly in the offseason? And would you want him? Yes, they did have serious interest in Shane Pinto. In fact, I think it's okay to say this now, even though at the time we hinted at it, but I was asked to not say anything at the time. But they were looking to trade Morgan Frost for Pinto at the time. That was beginning of this. It was before the whole allegations thing came out against him with the gambling and the suspension and everything else. Right. So it was before that all came to fruition. Ottawa didn't make that trade. They didn't want to make that trade. So that was on Ottawa more than it was the Flyers.
I guess they didn't think that Frost was going to be a sure thing.
Right.
And they viewed trading Pinto as a real gamble.
Man, you have to say things just to make yourself laugh sometimes, don't you? Just to make yourself laugh.
Hey, do you know where Pinto's favorite place to play on the ice is? In the slot.
That's good. I'm done. Would I take him? Yeah, he's a heck of a player.
Yeah,
he's a really good player. I don't think Ottawa wants to walk away from him.
Yeah.
And I actually think that the suspension helped the Senators in a sense. It didn't help them with this season, but it helped them in the sense that they were able to get him in at the league minimum for the rest of this year. And now they look at when they go forward into the offseason and actually signing him further, they could put themselves into a better cap position to sign him, right? And so I think that helps Ottawa a little bit. The fact that he had to miss 41 games, but he is in the lineup tonight, so it'll be interesting. And to kind of answer,
hey, do you know what kind of crowd Pinto likes to play in front of the most? A full house. Sorry, go ahead.
So this is dad joke central right now, is what this is, right?
I heard the trainers were worried about him. He skated really hard. He came back and his face was really flush. All right, let's keep going. Sorry.
I'm so done
They're
with you,
gonna keep
Russell.
coming to me. I don't know.
I'm so done with you, man. Anyway, what were you talking? What was the thing you asked me
I heard
about?
Pinto was going to change to defenseman. That way he could play as part of a pair. As you can see, I'm not looking these up. No hands on the keyboard. There's a game today, Anthony. Can we talk about the game?
You asked a question that I said I was going to try and answer before you derailed this entire show.
What game or what question was that?
I don't remember what it was. Nancy's booing you. Nancy's booing you. That's how you know it's bad. When your wife is booing
I'm
you.
gonna take a walk.
There you go, Allison. He needs to be traded to Vegas.
Oh man!
That's good work by Allison. Good work by
Gambling
Allison.
problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah. What were you, again? You said something. See, this is how I know.
I don't remember what the question
you don't
was.
pay attention to our show.
I really don't remember.
You just ramble something out, just spit it out, and then I'm saying, oh yeah, I'll answer that, and then I forget what you said, and you don't even remember what you were talking about.
Yeah. So if we look at this game today,
Yeah.
I'm not formulating anything in my head. I'm back to the game. Game analysis. That's what we're here for on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. Available wherever you get your online streaming shows. We like to have a little bit of fun here. After all, we are.
That silly podcast.
Let's get into it, Ant.
Yeah.
So, Giroux, I have to think, in going home, in going back to Ottawa, was obviously hoping that the team would be better than it is, it would perform better than it has. And what we had been talking about before we got derailed because you started making jokes about gambling is the idea that they had so many issues all happen in one season.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to compare what Ottawa's gone through is kind of like the 18-19 Flyers, right? With the Hextall firing, with the Hackstall issue, with issues with ownership at the time. There was kind of like the fan revolt. There were like a lot of things going on that year. And when there's that much turbulence, there's absolutely no way to win. Now, again, they're only halfway in the season. We still think that they have enough talent that they probably pulled the nose up to some extent. But I guess my question to you is, have they dug themselves too far of a, or too deep of a hole?
Yeah,
to,
they're not. They
get
can't. I don't think that they can get into the playoffs this year. I mean, that would require them. I mean, they're at, 33 points through 41 games. And I think that the last playoff team right now has, 51, 52? I don't, right. Just off the top of my head. So you're like 19 points back. I mean, that's 10 games behind with 41 to go. I mean,
you're probably not.
You're not making that up. You have to go on like a mega run in order to make that up. So no, I don't think that
51. He says
51, right?
Yeah.
So that's 18 points. So that's 9 games back. You're likely not making that up.
Sure.
But I do think that there is value for this team in having a good second half.
Agreed.
And kind of pushing it for to try and get as close as they can.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think that there's also players on this team who are going to be available at the trade deadline. Like a Vladimir Tarasenko, for example, is probably not long for the Senators at this point. So I got to think that that's a move that gets made somehow, some way. So yeah, I mean it's an interesting team, but again, I think that it's not a team you could just sleep on.
I just came up with a joke that you wouldn't like.
Is this another gambling joke?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, they're trying to figure out how they can go up the standings. So they put Pinto in charge of figuring out the table games, how they'd have to get there. That was a bad one. They were all good until that one.
That was terrible.
All right, let's go out to the questions, comments, and concerns, because after all, we are the most interactive pregame, intermission, postgame show, which is why we're the number 1 this side of the Mississippi. I've also confirmed that we are the number 1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show south of the Arctic Circle. We were given that distinction last game.
Oh, that's good.
Hunter Miko's
Oh,
asked-
I remember what it was. Before we get
Miko-
to Hunter, I remember what you talked about. The 7 and 11.
The what?
7D, 11 forwards.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you asked me.
I did.
How long can you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a risk. It's a total risk. I mean, we saw it happen one game where they ended up, he sat, was it Farabee and Frost for?
Sounds about right.
I think it was those two guys.
Yeah.
For an entire third period and only played with 9 defense.
Yes.
Or
Well,
9
I
forwards.
said it was like the time that he benched Farabee.
Oh, it
Where
wasn't Frost. It was somebody got hurt.
Farabee was on the.
Somebody got hurt, and then Farabee.
Yeah,
And
it
Farabee
was,
was benched, and they only played with 9.
It wasn't Atkinson that game, was it? No.
Somebody left the game. I forget who it was. That
I
left
don't
the
remember.
game. But
Forster?
anyway, it might have.
We're just going to name random forwards.
Yeah. Anyway, they only played with 9 at that point. So yes, you do run the risk of, and especially when you're playing in back-to-backs, going 11 forwards.
Yeah.
Again, you're really running a risk. I kind of thought somebody would play in for Tippett, of course, but I thought that there might be a chance that Zamula is. What are you doing? Are they talking about us?
It's right over your shoulder.
Oh, I'm not looking. Yeah. That they would, that maybe they might go with a 6D 12 forward game today. I just thought being on a back-to-back they might, but
It would have made sense.
But they're not, and they're going.
not.
So look, it's hard to argue the decisions that the coaching staff has made to this point this season. Right? They've done a lot right. They've pushed a lot of right buttons, and if they feel like that they can get by with doing this, I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt until it starts to become a problem. At which point, then you sit there and say, "Okay, now was that the right button to push?" But until it goes wrong, it's hard for us to sit here and criticize it.
When's the last time Ottawa had a good team?
It's been a bit, 6 years maybe.
Would you say it's time to fold them? Let's keep going.
I'm so.
All right,
I should have gotten a pregame guest. I
Can
really
I-
should.
can I
But there
give
was
you-
nobody over there. The only 2 guys that were sitting over there were our last 2 guests.
They were.
It was
Yeah.
Kevin Kurz and Bill Meltzer, the only 2 people that were sitting in the press box when I walked over to try and find somebody to come on. I was like, who am I going to ask?
Yeah.
There's nobody else here.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have too much of a repeat, so I said, well, we'll go without one today. And look at what it's
And
led
tried to go find them down
Look
by
what
the
it's led
river,
to.
but it turned out that his search was a flop.
Look what
That's 2 more.
what it
That's
is-
2 more.
look
back
what
to
has
back.
turned
That's-
into.
That's back to back. I'm on fire. All right. I do want to ask you, and I actually want to offer a thought here as well. Bobby Brink is in a position now that this team, this is where I say organizational malpractice is getting close. Because Brink was a guy who, in the beginning of the season, we said, wow, Torts has really given him a lot of rope. He seems to have had some money in the bank with Torts. He was playing the right way. He went through camp the right way, approached the whole thing. Wasn't demanding, allegedly, to be given a spot on this team, allegedly, and then, force his way out in a trade. The thing that's kind of crazy to me is Brink has not played well. There have been a couple of times where he's shown some flashes, but for the most part, last 15, 20 games, we've had a lot of games where we've said, hey, Bobby Brink really not popping off the page. Maybe it's time to send him down. I am surprised that he is a scratch today, and I'm more than anything, I'm surprised if he's not going to be put in a position to be successful, or if they feel like they are putting him in that position and it's not working, why not just send him down to Lehigh Valley and let him regain his confidence and bring him back up? That's the point of a rebuild, is shuttle the players back and forth, get the guy's head back on straight.
Yeah.
Scratching him.
And I
doesn't
still
make
think that that's on the table. I think that it was just a timing issue with how many games were being played in such a short period of time and wanting to have the extra forward as a possibility if needed.
Yeah.
Right? And so, not really liking another option to, send him down, call somebody else up, because then who knows? Then you maybe have to when it's time to send that person down. You got to go through the waiver process and this and that. You really don't want to lose a guy just for that. So I think that is something that's still going to be on the table here. If the Flyers get through this stretch, which goes through next Saturday, right, when the Boston game, and then they get a little over a week off, or close to that. I think that's when you're going to start to see a possibility of Bobby Brink getting sent down and getting an opportunity to play with the Phantoms again. But I do he's been out of lineup. What's this? His 4th straight game he's out.
It's quite a few.
I think it's 4. I mean, it gets to a point where you say, okay, that's too much, but is 4 too much, right? Are you stunting his development by only having him be a healthy scratch for a week? Or is there a lot that he can glean from still being on the roster and working on his game and figuring things out in practice and working with the at the NHL level that it would have preclude him being sent down and then back up and down and up and really being on a yo-yo, which could be a lot more difficult. I think that you weigh the option of 1 week at as a healthy scratch in the National Hockey League probably isn't hurting you. If it becomes like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, yeah, then I think at that point you're starting to look at it and say, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gotten to the point of malpractice like you just said. I just think we're kind of we're still in an okay spot. It can't continue. Let's just put it that way.
Andrew Fawcett asks, does Brink need to come to Jesus meeting with Torts?
I
would not.
No.
I would not say that at this point.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference, Andrew, between what Morgan Frost was going through. I mean, Morgan Frost is in his 5th year in the NHL, right? Bobby Brink.
And his 2nd year playing for this coach.
Yeah, Bobby Brink is technically a rookie. Yeah, he played a few games previously, but he's technically a rookie. And I think that's this is part of the learning process for him.
Yep.
That come to Jesus meeting could be next year if it's the same stuff, right? I mean, you can certainly see that next year, but I don't think it's time for it this year, no.
Look at this. Josh White checking in with a good Phoenixville education. You could tell he had a German teacher who spoke some knowledge to him on the sports side of things. If Brink comes in and he can't play 4th-line minutes again, it's not his game.
That's correct.
I agree. Josh, very nice job.
You want your players to play in the role that you envision them to play in, and not in something in a role that they're not suited to play.
Well, this is the thing with Frost, right? Because for the longest time, it had been like even last year, people were like, "Oh, put Morgan Frost in as the 4C. Put Morgan Frost in as the 4C. Let's have a skillful 4th line.
No,
let's set a precedent in the NHL."
No,
I was like, no, you can't do that. That doesn't work.
No, there's a reason.
And now you can see Morgan Frost is put in a position to be successful with good wingers, and all of a sudden, he's unlocked his game, and everybody's happy, hunky-dory.
And not only that, I think what gets lost in the success of the Flyers this year is the importance of the physical players that are in their lineup. I mean, you look at the value that Garnet Hathaway has brought to this team, and you look at the value that Nick Seeler has brought to this team. Like guys like that, who play that bigger, stronger, heavier game. You need that balance. You can't just be a team full of small, fast guys.
Yes.
It doesn't work. You tell me the last Stanley Cup team that's won with us that's a bunch of small, fast guys. Nope. It just doesn't happen. You need that element. There's no doubt. That's the main priority of the sport of hockey today.
Yeah.
But there definitely needs to be a balance in your roster. And to ask guys to play in a role that you would expect those other guys to play on a regular basis, and it's not the way you play, does nothing to help your game or help the team.
Example, Colorado plays with a ton of speed. We saw it.
Yeah.
We saw it yesterday. They play with a ton of speed.
Yeah.
But there was a play late in that game yesterday where I said McKinnon kind of looked like prime Mike Richards.
Open ice hit.
Open ice hit, laying the lumber, separating the guy from the puck.
Yeah.
Not looking to make a cutesy play, not looking to make the cutesy play and then send himself the other way.
Yeah.
Looking to separate the player from the puck and fundamentally change the momentum of what was happening
Correct.
in that moment. You need skill. You need speed. It can't be the only thing. Conversely, you can't just have a plodding, heavy team that is, lacking in a serious way, lacking speed and skill. So you have to find that balance. That's what good teams do.
You do.
Oddly enough, the Flyers, in a way, I do think that addition of Jamie Drysdale has all of a sudden really kind of had a cascading effect here. Like it has given the Flyers the chance to play with some more speed, with some more skill, especially on that top pair, to play with that on the power play. But because of what that does with the remaining pairs, it allows you to better balance, I think, some of that speed and some of that tough play.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Yeah, you're absolutely not wrong. And that's, wait a second. Both missing the obvious would bring as clear as day. His body hit from the wall. His body is hit from the wall from the grueling schedule. That's certainly possible. That's certainly possible. But at the same time,
he shouldn't be here.
Right. If that's the case, that you need to learn how to play a long season. And the fact that you're sitting there suggesting that his body's hit the wall, and you got to remember he was playing poorly for several games before he got pulled from the lineup. If you're going to say his body hit the wall after 30 games, I don't know. I think that's a little concerning if that's the case. I mean, it's possible that happened, but I would be more concerned about the player. Is that?
Hunter Miko says Denver Barkey's a true Flyer, has a 2-game suspension for abuse of an official. That's what we want. We don't want Cutter. Don't forget, Quitter Gauthier shirts are available on shop.snowthegoalie.com, as are tickets for our live event, March 16th at La Sicilia, down in Oxford, Pennsylvania. It's going to be at 5:30. The doors are going to open. Big Italian buffet, pasta, pizza, desserts, other things. It's going to be great. We're going to do the press road show. 6 o'clock, we'll do pregame live. It'll be Flyers, Bruins. Again, March 16th. Starts at 5:30 p.m. Big Italian buffet. Huge night. We'll be there. Bundy will be there. Intern Andrew will be there. Now, can we convince Intern Andrew to dress up like a leprechaun? Because it is the day before the carnival, which means it's St. Patty's weekend. Can we get him to dress up like a leprechaun? Probably. Can we get him to dye his hair orange? Unlikely. But we can try. Which is why you're going to go over to Twitter, find at Andrew_Henry or Andrew_Henry5, and you can go send him some tweets about dyeing his hair orange. All right, Anthony, let me ask you something. What's the thing that you're looking the most forward to eating at the live event on March 16th at La Sicilia in Oxford?
I'm not allowed to eat most of that stuff.
I don't want to hear it. That is not an answer.
I'm not.
You will eat that stuff.
Salad.
You disgust me. I'm going to have a chat with your fiance. You got some pounds to put back on that night.
There's some great stuff at that restaurant. I will say that. But
Ant will eat. I will force pasta down his throat. So help me.
So help me. But yeah, speaking of food, I do have something. You're Mr. Promotion.
Yes.
I do have something I want to promote. And I hopefully you'll be getting something ready here to pull up. So obviously we've briefly touched on the fact that I've been dieting since May of last year. But at this time last year, a friend of mine sent out a thing on Facebook that he was looking to have his daughter help, get people to buy Girl Scout cookies from her. Now, I know everybody's got their Girl Scout cookie connection, right? But if you don't, I wanted to do this since I can't buy the cookies for myself this year.
QR code is on the screen to scan.
Yeah. Since I don't have them myself to sell this year. My friend Dave, his daughter Ellie, she's with Girl Scout Troop 2187 up in Percy in Bucks County.
Yeah.
Right, it's closer to you, closer to the Scoop.
No, it's not. That is not.
No, to the Scoop where you grew up. It's closer to there.
Not really, but okay. Sure, go ahead.
Than where you are now?
Well, I guess
and
so.
Where we are now?
I guess so. Sure.
Okay, it's accurate. Anyway. They're selling the Girl Scout cookies this year.
I mean, we're technically closer to Buenos Aires than we are to Tokyo, but sure.
But the proceeds are to help our troops to find some cool outdoor adventures that they have planned for the next year. And any cookie share donations go to the local first responders and the military. That's the other thing that they're doing. So if you don't want to buy them for yourself, you can buy the cookies and ask them to give them to first responders in the Percy area and to the U.S. military.
I support that.
Yeah, you see that? Is that kind of a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what if you want to buy them through Ellie, her personal site goes through that QR code that's up on the screen. They are happy to coordinate deliveries to anybody, home, offices, anything within the Philadelphia area, big orders, small orders, it doesn't matter, right? If you are outside the Philadelphia area, you could still order. There's a discounted shipping on her personal site. Wow. They will still ship to you. So if you're outside of Philadelphia and want to help her out, so help out little Ellie and Girl Scout Troop 2187. And remember, like I said, you can buy the cookies and share them with first responders and the military if you don't want them for yourself, which is kind of a really cool thing that Ellie's doing.
Or you can buy a box of Thin Mints and bring them up here to the Press Row Show.
What is your favorite? Is Thin Mints your favorite?
Thin Mints, you have to put them in the freezer.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
I also like the lemon cookies.
The lemonade?
The lemonade ones are very good.
Or and then there's whatever they say.
There was a chocolate peanut butter one last year, and I feel like one year there was a French toast one.
There was. Did you like those? I wasn't a big fan of them.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of those.
They're fine, Are you pulling it up?
I'm going to pull up what their list is for this year.
Okay, let's go through them.
Let's go through
before
their
we
list.
do our predictions.
So you have the Adventurefuls. That's the one you were talking about. They were pretty good.
Those are good.
Are you a Samoa's fan?
No.
With the coconut?
No, I don't like coconut.
I like coconut, but
I like coconut flavor. I don't like the texture.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Samoa's. The tag-alongs are good if you like peanut butter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked the trefoils. The trefoils, I think they're kind of like their butter cookie.
Okay. I'm trying to get the prediction from Bundy. I thought this was
I love when I'm talking to myself.
Tag-alongs are great.
The
Do-si-dos, they're
okay. They're fine. Yeah. Yeah. They changed the name now to Lemon Ups.
Oh, Lemon Ups.
That's new.
Wow.
That's a new name.
Wow.
And they have a gluten-free one called Toffee-tastic.
That's sad.
I've not had that one. I don't know.
That's sad. You have to fight through the gluten intolerance.
Yeah, but no, the Adventurefuls are good. Thin Mints are the all-timer. I like tag-alongs.
All right,
I like
back
trefoils.
to the hockey game, which we're about to embark upon.
Yeah.
Your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers against former captain Claude Giroux and the Ottawa Senators. We all believe that this is going to be a Flyers win today. I am awaiting young Bundissimo's prediction. Intern Andrew, what's your prediction? 4-2 Flyers, says intern Andrew.
Yeah.
6-2 Flyers.
So that's a lot. I don't think Ottawa's that bad.
2
Although
Flyers.
I do think that there's a possibility they score because they're
6-2.
poor Mads.
Who's in net for the Flyers today?
Sam Erson.
The true number one.
Mads.
He might not even give up 2 goals. That actually might be the part that's wrong.
Mads Sogard is the name of the goalie
Great
for
name.
the Ottawa
That
Senators.
sounds like a desk from IKEA.
Mads Sogard.
Yeah.
So I think the Flyers win this one, and I'm going to go 4-1.
Well, that's my actual hesitation about the 6-2, is I could see Sam Erson going 1 goal.
Yeah, I think 4-1.
Yeah.
4-1, and I think that 4 might be an empty netter. I'm kind of locked in at I was originally going to say 3-1, but I think that they're going to have a 2-goal lead and maybe get the empty netter to make it 4-1.
Interesting.
I'll go 4-1.
All right, well, don't forget, we'll be back here first intermission, second intermission, and post-game. Bundy will be joining us then. It's going to be a great day down here at the Wells Fargo Center. We all expect the Flyers to win. We'll see if they do. The crowd was late arriving, but it is now a very packed. Look at this. Look over your shoulder.
Hold on.
It is quite a packed arena. I am surprised just because 15 minutes ago it was quite empty. I think it's going to be a good atmosphere in here today. It sounds like a lot of families. I hear a lot of kids.
We got the official update on Owen Tippett's injury, by the way, from Danny Briere. He's out with a lower body injury.
Shocking.
Day to day.
So he might be back by Tuesday.
Yeah, so it could be. I mean, look, the fact that he put ice skates on and skated this morning, even though it was with a trainer, should have told you right up front that it's not a long-term injury.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he misses Tuesday as well, and then maybe comes back on the weekend, kind of after that.
Okay.
I got a game. They have a game Thursday in Detroit, right? Yeah. Oh,
Corey Perry signed with the
Edmonton.
Oilers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to talk about that during the first intermission.
Yeah, because all they need is more offense in Edmonton.
100%.
That's what they need.
Yeah. All right, time for us to roll out. We'll see you in the first intermission. Don't forget, you can stay here on the stream. We'll have the Game Center up, tracking the stats. If not, we'll see you first intermission as soon as the final horn sounds here, which will be sooner than you hear it or see it on TV. We'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for checking in on the Press Row Show. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. The Flyers have a 2-0 lead in a game that we said, well, at least intern Andrew and I did, that anything less than a 2-goal win would be a bit disappointing. Anthony SanFilippo said, it's a win's a win. Bundy, we didn't get your opinion, although I think your pick spoke for itself. Go ahead.
I think Ottawa's an awful hockey team, and I think the Flyers should mop the floor with them today. I don't know how else to say it, but that's what I really feel. And, they just – if you watch Ottawa play, right, like the best shifts they had in the game was early in the hockey in this first period. Yeah. They were moving it around, and the Flyers didn't really initiate any contact or any checking. And Ottawa, when you play like that, they can do damage, and that's what they looked like they were doing early. But when the Flyers kind of buckled down, they got a lead, they started checking harder. Ottawa doesn't appear to be a team that has any kind of structure, and they freewheel and they freelance, and they look like a team that should be down 2-0, even though it was an unbalanced start for the Flyers. I thought it took a few minutes to get their legs under them. But Zamula, 2 goals in that first period for him. Boy, he was ready to come this afternoon. There's no doubt about that. He's fired up, ready to play.
Big Z did something that Big G couldn't do when he played here. Score at even strength. Anyway, Anthony, go ahead.
I said, do you think Mason is placing bets for Shane Pinto?
Just won 125. We lit, he says.
He bet the over on Farabee for a point. He has two assists.
We are outside of the Snow The Goalie sportsbook, and I can tell you it sounds like that was a successful wager. But remember, please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, man.
There's a lot. There's a couple things.
Can we talk about 2 Zamula goals?
Well, let's talk about Zamula because it's been a pretty big year for him. Beginning of the season, we talked about it was, Torts was kind of going back and forth between him and Emile Andre, and it was, which guy's going to prove that he belongs up here? Could they both get sent down? Like, what was going to happen?
Well, you couldn't send Zamula down. He wasn't waiver eligible.
And Zamula has done a very good job of finding his footing. And especially over the last week and a half, he has looked like a confident NHL player.
Well, I mean, what they like about him is that he gets shots on goal. And so, he's really helped the power play, I still think that he's got deficiencies as a defensive defenseman. I think that he's a little bit slower right on the back end, and there are things that you got to still work on to kind of get him to be a more regular and more consistent player in your lineup. He's still the 7th guy on this 7-man defensive rotation that they're doing right now. But there's no question that the guy is helping you in the offensive end. And, on the power play goal was one of my favorite goals I've ever seen because he was the only person on the ice who knew where the puck was.
Yep.
Everybody
was on the other side.
I mean, not every player that was on the ice other than him, both referees, both linesmen, nobody knew where the puck was. Zamula saw it sitting on the far boards where it kind of kicked out to, all right, after our buddy Mads Sogard made that save. And he just went over and he got it and he threw it in the net. And fortunately for the Flyers, it went in before the referee blew the whistle because he had lost sight of the puck, right? Yep. That was 30 feet away. So that was kind of fun. But the second goal is more impressive because he gets himself into the high slot into a scoring position, Bundy. And the Flyers work along the wall. They get the puck. And nice pass by Farabee to find him. And he's, not afraid to let that thing go with a big shot. And he's able to beat the goal.
He really changed his stick to get the angle for the second goal. First one was just really good heads-up play by him to find the net again after the initial shot, but the goalie couldn't find it. Nobody could. But the second one, he did a really, really good job. I mean, to change up that angle, get the shot through the little maze of traffic and through the bodies, it's impressive. He's done a really good job of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why he'll become more of a mainstay. And I definitely think he's taken that role now, and it's a matter of time before when they get back to the top 6, he'll be in that top 6.
Yeah, I think that what you're seeing now is them debating. Do we keep Zamula in the top 6 or do we keep Rasmus Ristolainen? And I think and that's not a knock on Risto because it's not that Risto's played badly.
I agree.
But I think that you look at it and sit there and say, you have similar type players, right? I mean, so Sean Walker and Jamie Drysdale have that similar. Drysdale's obviously a significantly better skater, but they have that same kind of what you're kind of expecting out of a player. And you have Risto and Zamula, the same kind of expectations out of the player. And now you have 8D, and you're dressing 7. And if you have to move off from somebody, well, maybe it's if you like to keep Walker. Maybe you keep Walker and you move Ristolainen. If you'd rather keep Ristolainen, maybe you you move Walker instead. But like that's kind of the where things are at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know, and there'll be a lot of juggling and to see what goes on, and those discussions are happening with management every day. But it'll be interesting to see what exactly they have to do. The one thing is, if a guy like Zamula is playing the way he is, he definitely forces the Flyers' hand to try to do something, and that's what you're trying to do. If you're a guy like that, push the envelope, force them to make decisions, to have them believe in you that you can be a mainstay here. And there's one there by Andrew. Yeah, Risto's expendable. I hate to say that because you want to continue playing him. You have to keep him in the lineup if you want to trade him, or at least find a trade partner for him.
Yeah, and yeah, it's expendable is one way of saying it, but you also got to keep in mind it's not like it's just get rid of him. Doesn't matter at this point. Yeah, there's a contract that has to be worked out there.
It's a big contract.
And you're likely going to have to eat some of that salary if you're going to move him, right? So if you think he's expendable and you want to move on from Ristolainen, I'm okay with that. It's just that you have to be willing to eat that money as well. And if you think that your team is going to be a contender sooner than maybe you originally thought, you already are eating money on Kevin Hayes' contract next year. There's still one more year on somebody else too, I think, that you might be eating money on. So like how much?
You still have the Ellis money out there.
Yeah, that can go on LTIR. But like really, I mean, how much do you want of your cap do you want to tie up in money for players that you're paying not to play for you?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that has to be really kind of determined before you just say, oh yeah, ship them off.
And Risto's not a net negative right now. Like, he's actually played pretty well.
For the role that he's being asked to play, he's playing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's not being asked to do too much, which is pretty critical, because I think last year the way that the prior regime envisioned a Rasmus Ristolainen on this team was in a role that would not benefit him and was asking far too much of the player. He seems to have settled into what he's supposed to be. And the thing that, if you go back to when he was acquired, one of the things that the prior regime tried to sell people on is that Ristolainen is the kind of guy who plays a game that you want to see in the playoffs, and the kind of tough guy that, stands up for his teammates, all that you want to see the physical play in the playoffs. And, it's, I don't know, the guy just said Pottsville at me. He just pointed at me and said Pottsville. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, I grew up in Pottsville.
Maybe he knows you from Pottsville.
Yeah, but I don't know who he was.
Maybe he knows you.
Why does he know me? I'm just a guy. You know who's not just a guy?
Go ahead.
Claude Giroux, playing on the other side. Ottawa down 2-0 in this game. I just do this.
You know who's not just a guy?
I'm just doing this to rib you now, Ant. How did Claude Giroux look in that first period, Ant? You were the known Giroux supporter on the
I don't
panel.
think he was especially seen stand out. I mean, the two power play chances that they had, I felt like he had an opportunity to find an open guy in the high slot and chose not to pass to him. I thought he missed a couple of opportunities there. He was killing. I think he was on the ice on the Zamula goal, right? The first one. He's on the PK, but I mean, again, you can't blame him when nobody knew where the puck was except for Zamula. So I just thought it was just kind of a Giroux period. It was just a period. It wasn't anything. It was overly. It was nothing impressive. There was one or two things you go, that could have been better, but.
Claude Giroux not overly impressive in the Wells Fargo Center. Tale as old as time. Okay, let's continue. I just gotta keep getting him. It just upsets him. I don't mean to upset you people out there. You can do it, but he gets upset. I don't know why. It's weird. Bundy.
Why don't you ask Bundy if the first 5 minutes of the second period are going to be important or
not?
No,
because
Russ?
I know what his answer is going to be. They're not as important as the first 5 minutes of the third period a few nights ago. Bundy,
it's definitely not.
Why do they call the 2-0 lead in hockey the worst lead in hockey?
Because you can get a sense of feeling comfortable about the lead. It used to be called the 2-goal lead, like pre-2006, and then after that it ended up being the 3-goal lead became the worst one. It's just because you can get a sense of feeling good, and you're like, hey, we got a 2-goal lead. Let's kill some time off the clock and just keep clock watching, and the game will be over, and we'll just still walk out of here with the 2-goal lead we have. No, that's not usually what happens. Now, you may get away with it against a team like Ottawa who has no compete level at all, and you might be able to pull it off, but you could also be, find yourself in a facade also, and you don't want to do that with a team like Ottawa. Like, they can lull you to sleep and find a way to tie the game. I just don't think that that's something you need to do against a team like Ottawa. I think the Flyers have to dig in here and just keep playing. Like, this is a team, like, I think we all, like, looking at the numbers, we all felt like they were going to clean this team up today because that's the way this is not a good matchup for Ottawa. when the Flyers are playing the way that they played this year.
I guess the question now is, as they go into the second period, if you're the Flyers and you're able to get that third goal relatively soon into the second, does that effectively stamp out any real chance Ottawa has of coming back? And you would think that based on the season that they've had and based on the way that things have gone, you would think so. Ant, was there anybody who stood out to you in that first period that you wanted to highlight? Well, on the Press Row Show, the number one.
Well, you know, I am picking the 3 stars today.
You are. So, okay, then let's play the Stars with Anthony SanFilippo. All right.
I will be picking the 3 stars today, and if I'm going solely off the first period.
Yes, please do.
Solely off the first period. You have to go Zamula 1.
Yeah.
I think Joel Farabee.
Yeah.
Not Josh Farabee.
Not Josh. Okay. No. We saw
the regular guys back.
The regular guys back. Yeah. Joel Farabee.
I guess Urs on.
And Urs would be the third. I thought he made a couple nice saves early when Ottawa was kind of a little bit more in sync. I thought he made a couple nice saves, and so I would probably go Urs as the 3 right now. And again, you know, if a goalie pitches a shutout, you gotta think of him as one of the 3 stars too. So that's probably my 3 right now at this point. By the way, Bundy, I wanted to run this by you. You can talk to your son if you want. Go ahead.
How you doing, son? What can I do for you? Need a credit card?
And I might have figured out why his computer does this.
You need a drink or something?
Let's try. Yeah, look, I figured it out. I knew what it is. Let's try a thumbs up. Try a thumbs up. Yeah. See,
I'll be right. I did when I got to this level.
Who was the first coach at the NHL level to dispel that notion of you being an offensive defenseman?
You know what? I think I teased enough people. Like, what? I think my 3rd year, I have to check it, but I had like the 4th most even strength points as defenseman in the league.
Okay.
I had like 24 points in whatever number of games, 71 games, and. You know, people be like, well, is he a power? No, I'm not. I just didn't. I got to a point in my career where I was just so happy playing defense. That was my comfort zone.
Okay.
That to focus for 3 minutes a night on a power play wasn't going to help the team either get better percentage on their power play or score a goal when they needed it.
You know, your second season, your first full season, because the first year was that strike short year. You had 3 power play goals in 95-96.
Wow.
Look at that.
Is that what you're going to be bringing to the alumni team?
I don't know what I'm bringing that night, Russ, except a pair of skates and a stick.
Yeah.
How's the training going?
Good. I'm actually, you know what it is? I think anybody that plays men's league or plays out there rec hockey, they know you just need to get out there that one time. I'm going to get out one more time. I said 3. So if I get out twice this week, 2 more, that'll be 3 times before the game. And I think it's just really to get your bearings so you're not falling all over the place, which we still might do anyway.
Wait, Bundy, I gotta ask these questions.
Sure.
Because I'm just like, I've never done a deep dive into your career stats.
Yep.
Right? But this is funny that we looked this up, and now I got a couple things I got to ask you about, because 2001, 2002, you scored 4 goals that season.
Yeah.
2 of them were shorthanded.
Yeah.
3 of them were game-winning goals.
Yeah.
I would never have expected.
Weren't
that.
a lot of them, but they were big ones.
I would never have expected. They were the only 2 shorthanded goals you scored in your career.
Yeah.
And 3 of the 6 game winners that you scored in your career.
So I used to go by the bench. I said, boys, I don't get a lot of them, but they're all big ones. They go right by the bench. They'd be laughing too.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. That was like one of the first years I was covering the team, and I don't remember that. Holy smokes. That's funny.
He's got the clutch gene, that Bundy. Tell you what. So pregame, your prediction was 5-2, Bundy. Mine was 6-2. Intern Andrew was 4-2, and Ant was 4-1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay. How are we feeling about our predictions going into this period?
Good. Very good.
Yeah?
I would probably increase it, actually.
To the 6
yeah,
that I'm at.
I would have probably moved it up. But I'm happy with the 5-2, and I think the Flyers, that's a fair score. And listen, the Flyers found their game. They didn't have it when they came out. But Ottawa just looks for a reason every night to mail it in, and they're going to do the same here if the Flyers keep their foot on the gas pedal.
How would you guys say Sam Erson's looked today, especially after getting called in probably somewhat unexpectedly in the 3rd yesterday, to come back the next day and play like he has so far?
He's played well. He's played well. And I think it's going to be an interesting conversation as we go forward and see. I mean, he's already got 3 shutouts this year. This Ottawa team's...
What's the interesting conversation?
Well, I mean, the conversation's going to be, will he start on Tuesday? Because I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, Anthony's going for that one. I'm just going to wait on that, but I'm going to let Anthony kind of
I'm not saying I know anything or anything like that. No one's told me that. I just get. It's one of those intuition. Like you've been around the game, you've been around the sport, the way things are going. I just kind of get a feel that if this game continues to go as we expect, and Sam Ersson has a solid game, he could get the start against Tampa on Tuesday.
So if he comes in relief and plays pretty well, and then he starts this game as expected.
He did give up a goal.
And then he played pretty well. And then he starts again on Tuesday.
What are we, January? I'm still with Anthony. There's still time.
Yeah.
If he starts Tuesday, that will be the first shot across the bow and a signaling that they're going to start looking to go to one goalie. I'll admit that.
Okay.
Because if you just want to keep doing it fair, in a happy place, go goalie, next goalie, next goalie. You just go every other game.
Yeah.
If they start him in this critical, depending on what happens here today, I think that's the first signal. And I don't know that that's happening. That would be the first sign for me. Anthony's really hot on this one. That would signal to me the first time that Torts is saying we're going to start moving towards a guy that we think we're going to go with in a playoff format.
Interesting. All right, we'll talk more about that in the second intermission and plenty more. So come back here, YouTube, Facebook, and Twixter. We will talk to you all in the second intermission. Welcome on in to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi and south of the Arctic Circle. I'm Russ. That's Anthony. On the end is Bundy.
It's not that far from the Arctic Circle. It's freezing up here.
It is very cold.
Feels like it.
Second coldest building in the league, from what I remember. Boston is a runaway #1.
I can tell you definitively that while our friends from Colorado aren't up here, doing what they were doing yesterday, little smoky smoke. You know what did come up here? A bird.
2 of them.
Have you seen the birds?
Yeah.
I've seen the birds in this place.
Okay,
I'm
sorry. Let me rephrase.
4 weeks,
Have you seen the bird flying around up here?
There's 2 of them.
Russ is like a little kid sometimes. And like we're sitting here pregame, right? And this bird is just on, right across from us. There's like this little desk, with security desk and like these window cutouts, so the glass isn't in. It's just like the panes. And the bird was sitting on one of the, and he's going like this to intern Andrew. Oh look, there's the bird. There's the bird. Do you see the bird? Do you see the bird? Do you see the bird?
Russ is at that state, right, where he just absolutely is bewildered that there's a bird inside a building.
It's like, Russ, yes, Russ, there's a bird. I mean, there's a lot of access from outside into an arena, and sometimes they fly in here.
Your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers are leading 3-2 after that period. Not a great period for the Orange and Black. A nice goal by Joel Farabee. Nobody puts Beezer in the freezer. 3-2. What did you see in that period? Certainly not the way that this team had drawn it up.
They did not play well that period. I mean, seriously, the power play goal by Farabee aside, that was not a good period. It was, Ottawa looked like they wanted to play, and they came to play the second period, and the Flyers looked like they were just kind of going through the motions in my mind. I don't think John Tortorella will be happy with the way that they played that period. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a message being sent in that room right now as they prepare for the third. But you look at it and say, you're still ahead by a goal, right? You still got this game in your hand if you play 20 minutes of structured hockey. And that's where they're at. And at this point, that's all they have to do to come out of here with 2 points. But, you can't be happy with the way they played the period.
That was not the kind of period you want. I mean, they had a great play again on the Zamula now with an assist on that goal as well.
Yeah.
He's had an assist on every goal except for
it's crazy.
Even the Sens on that one. But, no, he's played a very, very good game. And, mistakes happen. It's just dropping off his stick. And Zach McHugh, of all people, gets the three-quarter breakaway and finishes. But, Zamula's had a really, really good game. And the Flyers have not. You know what? The thing is with Ottawa, they kind of can lull you into a little bit of a trap. They want to play a game that's easy.
Yep.
That's a complete Ottawa game. They won't want to get hit. They don't want to dig in the corners. They don't want to win every single puck battle to try to get to be a difference. And they have talent, but they don't have commitment. And that's why the Ottawa Senators are where they are. That being said, you can see exactly what they what can do to you if you give them chances. And it feels like this is one of those games where the Flyers are the ones hanging around with the lead. I don't want to say they don't deserve the lead. They've earned it, but at the same time, they're just not playing clamped down enough and too cute, to be honest with you, with the puck in their own zone. And they're keeping Ottawa. You see it on the thing. Ottawa's hanging around here. It's an old saying, right? We always hear it in every sport. They're hanging around this game. And the Flyers, I personally need to come out here in the third early and stamp what they want to do the rest of the game on this third period.
The first 5 minutes are important.
The first 5 is an important 5 again,
I don't know if anybody, I assume that everybody who's watching at home has heard this clip or has seen this going around, but Zamula had a really funny clip, a very funny soundbite between the first and second when asked about scoring 2 goals. He said, I see you open net. I put puck in net.
That's it.
That's it. До свидания. That's so simple. And, you know what? It's true. Now, Zamula, the first goal that Ottawa had, that was the brutal turnover. It goes the other way. That's a play that can't happen. How pissed do you think that kind of play makes Torts, or does Torts kind of shrug it off and say, all right, a mistake happens,
it's a hockey
learn from it?
That's a hockey mistake. That's not one where a guy's not executing properly or making lazy, sloppy plays. It's just a hockey play. It happens. And a game is, people always say, hockey's a game of mistakes, and it's how you respond to the mistakes. I mean, you're going to give anybody the little mini breakaway in that, it was the right guy. But you're as a coach, you don't even. To me, I would never say another word to him about that. That just happens.
Yeah, I mean it's not like it's a play where he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing on the play. It's not like he made a bad pass or it's just the puck was coming back to him at the point, and he just missed it. I mean, it hit off on his stick and bounced out into the center, and that noted goal scorer Zach McEwen gets on a breakaway and goes down the ice and beats Urson over the shoulder with the shot, and that's so like Bundy's right. Like you can't sit there and hound on him for a mistake like that. That's just a thing that happens in a hockey game. That's not doing what you're coached to do.
I do want to throw this question up because I think that it's a fair enough point. Spiral Out says AHL goalie, just shoot. Bundy, when you're playing against a guy who is really, for all intents and purposes, an AHL level goalie, and you know that, do you change the way that you play, or do you just try to still fit within the system and do what's coached, or do you modify it because you should be able to take advantage of to be fair, like a lower tier goalie?
You probably have a different mindset, thinking it's going to be a lot easier to score. Mm-hmm. But even guys that play, can have good nights. This guy's not having a great night. I think the Flyers have had chances to beat him more than once. They've hit him in the crest a couple times. But yeah, I think as goal scorers, Russ, I have a feeling that they'll probably tell you, yeah, we feel a little bit more hungry to score goals, or we feel like there's an easier chance to score goals. Mm-hmm. They've got 3. I mean, that's pretty good after 2 periods, I'd say. But the part tonight that they've just given up too many little chances in their own zone, and I don't think that's a good formula for this Flyer team. Trying to get some. Are you looking at ice time numbers too, Anthony? Anything sticking out at you? That fourth line looked like they got relegated to the back of the bench.
Yeah, well, I mean, there isn't really a fourth line because you remember there's only 11 forwards.
Right.
Yep.
Ryan Poehling, 5 minutes and 19 seconds total.
That's
through 2 periods. Garnet Hathaway's at 9:20, but that's not a surprise. Nick Delorier, 4:24. Again, also not a surprise as he's the 11th forward. So it's more Poehling is the one I think that's the one that's a little bit of a surprise. That said, Scott Lawton's been on the ice for both Ottawa goals, for what that's worth. So has Risto. But ice time.
The ice is all even. Even like Sanheim's only got 11 minutes played to this point.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy, Couturier is leading the team no, he's not. Farabee's leading the team in ice time, 14:47.
That.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Great number. Great breakdown there, Ant.
Yeah, fine.
Bringing numbers to the table.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking, just trying to see. Well, again, this is because I actually have the stars form open, and
you need to know.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some situations in place if the Flyers win, if the Senators come back, whatever. I got to have it ready to roll.
Let's play a game we haven't played in a while, and that, of course, is the Deserve to Win a meter over on Money Puck. Would anybody like to take a guess of what the percentage is right now? Now, remember, it's moving because it moves during the intermission because your Deserve to Win a meter.
It will go up when you're not on the ice.
So what percentage do you think the Flyers are at right now, Deserve to Win a meter?
I got to say probably like 58%.
Ant?
That's a good number. Because I don't think that they had a great second period. I'll still go a little bit higher because they were better in the first. I'll say 63%.
Intern Andrew says 61. According to Money Puck, the Deserve to Win a meter, Flyers 24.9%.
Oh, really?
Which makes me ask the question, what the hell's the expected goals situation?
Look at that.
And for those of you wondering, expected goals battle, because it doesn't matter what the actual goals are. Expected goals, Senators 2.32. Flyers, 0.89.
Well, how the hell's that work?
How is your expected
goals? You already got 3 goals.
0.89 when you've scored three of them.
Okay, that's it. You lost me with this. I'm done with these dumbass analysis things.
Which Flyer leads the way in expected goals? Which player?
How about the one who scored 2 of them?
Incorrect. The guy who scored 2 of them is 0.07. I don't understand. Konechny leads the way, 0.28.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't understand. I have a hard time.
People actually live on these numbers too. There's people who actually have jobs for these.
It's unbelievable. It's just and then they'll say, "Well, this is an outlier."
Yeah.
Outlier.
Yeah.
No,
The only
No,
liar is
it's-
the numbers.
No, it's out because it's lying to us.
Oh, there he is. Money puck where the points don't matter. That's what fourth host Nancy says.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It was good.
All right. There are some other things that we can't put
I
up
love
on the
it.
screen.
I love it.
R Hextall 87 says that's only 0.07 more than Ryan Ellis. Or Ryan Ellis. Or Ryan Ellis. Okay.
Expected goals is just an absolutely unbelievable one.
That's today as an example. Look, and I understand what the stat is intended to do. I get it, right? But today is an example of a game where it's like, throw this out the window.
Yeah,
you don't need it. It just doesn't equate to what's happened in this game.
So let's play this one out for the postseason, okay? I don't have a trade scenario for the second period. Maybe or for second intermission.
You don't
Maybe
have. You're not
maybe I will
trading
for
anybody
postgame.
right now.
No, I want to bring I want to take this to a more fun hypothetical because
I got to get used to
it's come up.
this. This is a new feeling.
As the
Russ
Flyers
doesn't have
get
to trade.
closer to a potential playoff push, sometimes you need a top-end defenseman. They're hard to get on the trade market. Can I interest you in Ryan Ellis returning to the ice for the Philadelphia Flyers? Sometimes the best additions are the ones you forgot about.
You know, I used to make fun of the fact that every time before it actually happened, every time we mentioned the elf costume to intern Andrew, that facial expression that he would give us about, I'm not doing this, I'm just not doing this, and he would just kind of shake his head and his eyes would get real big and be like, what are they? They're trying to sabotage my career as an intern for this show. All right, I am now making that face every time that you speak on
Good.
this episode today.
I'm glad.
It's just like I'm utterly perplexed and befuddled by you today.
Yep. Here we go. Brian Crail. Anthony, this is on you. Brian says you should interview Giroux after the game so he can give his curated goodbye to the fans that he promised. I didn't say it. That was Brian Crail.
I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you have said nothing on this episode today that has led to Brian Crail giving us that response.
Did I mention the curated goodbye that was promised to the fan base? I don't remember. Did I say that earlier? I might have. Possible. I don't think I did.
You did.
I'm not so sure.
That's all right.
I'm not so sure. Bundy, when you retired, which you actually didn't do until a few weeks ago on Snow the Goalie,
I did
the Only
retire on
Flyers
Snow the Goalie,
podcast.
yeah.
Do you plan to put out a formal curated goodbye to the city of Philadelphia from your playing days?
It's been a lot of years, but I feel like I owe them that, and I think I may create something. I may write them a poem.
Speaking of your playing days, Bundy, I know what I learned something tonight. Not that I learned it; it's just that I just certainly didn't remember it. Your last game with the team
Before I came back.
before you came back was my favorite regular season Flyers game to cover.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the case, and when you told me what happened, I was like, oh yeah, kind of, sort of, the famous Flyers Ottawa brawl in 2004. With all the 400 and some penalty minutes, 409 penalty minutes, I think it was. He got hurt in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, 10 minutes in, I strained my AC joint in my shoulder. Felt like it was dislocated, and I just couldn't go. I rolled on it, so I fell down, and it just went under me. And I went in, and I could not lift my left shoulder up. And anyway, I guess they'd probably tried me. I may have made a change. I'd been here a long time then. But that was the game that the fights all broke out in the third period.
Yeah.
Did you watch that from like the locker room or something?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just wild. I was like one guy coming in after another. I was laughing.
You were laughing with?
Well, yeah, and it was sore at the same time, but I was like, what the hell's going on here? This is the longest game I've ever seen in my life. Now it's just turned into a full WWE, right?
Yeah.
Like it looked like a Royal Rumble.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
We should have actually pulled them all back and just sent one guy out every minute.
Yeah.
Walk him out the tunnel.
That's awesome.
Yes.
R Hextall 87 says, after setting a personal best with 9 dogs, because it's Dollar Dog Night here.
Oh.
I'd like to formally announce my retirement from Dollar Dog Nights, going out on top like Bork.
9 hot dogs. That's a pretty solid number.
9 is a respectable number.
That's a pretty respectable
Although
number.
R Hextall 87, if you really want our respect here on Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast and the Press Row Show, you get the double digits.
Yeah, we did. So this summer I took the boys and my dad out to a Phillies trip out in Cleveland. It happened to be Dollar Dog Night out there. And a few years ago, my oldest son went to a Phillies game and did Dollar Dog Night, and he did 14 hot dogs. And so my younger son, Andrew, said, all right, I'm going for the record. I'm going to try and beat his record. He got into the hot dog number 5 and was like, I'm done. I don't know how you could do it. And my older son was, crowing, walking around, puffy-chested.
Probably puffy belly. That's a
Well,
lot.
No, he didn't eat 14 that night. That night, but he did it a couple years ago.
How are the dogs at in the mistake at the lake?
They had this weird thing. I think we talked about this on the podcast. They had a thing where they put Fruit Loops on the hot dog.
Really?
Yes. It was like the weirdest thing.
Oh, Jesus.
They put,
all right, let's
they put. That's why they were doing that question with the fan here, like things you put on a hot dog, and he was mentioning like crumbled chips.
I'm going to say it. I don't know if Philly has that, but there's nothing. When I go to Chicago, it's a Chicago dog all day long. They call them Dicka dogs.
Yeah.
At Soldier Field. But they're the best. Like,
what's on there?
It's got relish. It's got like the pickle relish.
Yeah.
The little thin peppers.
Yeah.
It's got like a spice that goes on it. It's just unbelievable.
All right, I want to know in the comments, what do you put on your hot dogs? And I'll throw it back to you guys. So, Bundy, you said that when you're out there, that's what
Chicago
you get.
dog all day long. Yeah.
So even if you're barbecuing in the backyard, is that what?
I don't do that all the time. No, I just put mustard, ketchup, relish if it's a regular barbecue. But if I do like the Chicago dog, I'll actually order in the stuff for the Chicago dogs. We should have some Chicago dogs, possibly, maybe, at the tailgate. But that's really pushing it.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And what do you put on your hot dog?
I'm normally just put mustard on the hot dog. Like I'm not. That's just mustard. But I will do a chili cheese dog if I.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah.
Bring it in.
I'll go chili cheese.
That's right, Coney.
Look at it. Did we agree on something? Russ?
Where I grew up, there were Coney Island.
Cheese dogs.
Dude, chili cheese dogs.
Oh, they're
so
good. They're a mess.
So
I get
good.
them at those nifty 50s. You know those places around here?
Yeah.
We got one in Delco.
Yeah, no, there's one right on Columbus Boulevard. I'll tell you what, though, that's about a 30-minute window. You better race your car.
Yeah.
You're at nifty 50s. Be close to home.
Or make sure you get a booth right by the bathroom.
That's exactly right.
Yep. All right, well, the third period's about to start. We obviously know the first 5 minutes are crucial.
Yes,
as always.
We talked about our scores from the beginning of the game, but
I'm already out.
Do you guys think that this is going to end up, are we going to get closer to a 5-2, a 6-2, a 6-3? Like, where do you think we land?
I think that the Flyers I think that they're a little gassed.
Really?
I do. I think that they skated a lot. We talked about this pregame, right? That the one concern I had about tonight, even though I said I thought the Flyers were going to win 4-1, I thought it was going to be a close game until late and they would get an empty netter. But my concern was that the Flyers expended so much energy playing at that higher level, higher speed against Colorado yesterday that they might be just a little bit off today against a bad Ottawa team. And first period wasn't really like that, but the second period really was. And now I'm a little concerned. I think it's a possibility that the third period is kind of a slog, and they hang on.
5-2 Flyers.
Oh, you're confident.
Time to go. We'll be back post-game. Join us then. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. The Philadelphia Flyers, who at one point led this game 2-0, then 3-1, got their doors blown off. 5-3, your final score. The second half of a back-to-back, but make no excuse, Ottawa also was on the second leg of a back-to-back, and they had to travel.
Worst Flyers loss that I can think of in quite some time. I mean, that was bad. Yesterday, I saw it coming a little bit. I mean, I know there was a fight back yesterday, and they did give it their all, but I don't really ever feel like that was a game yesterday that Colorado was going to lay down in like Dallas did. I mean, and the Flyers did some things in that Dallas game that really pushed the Stars out to the perimeter a lot. It was a sensational game. Yesterday, I thought Colorado would come in here and get the win. We both did. And then today, I just thought this is the games you want to see because you kind of get a feel and an understanding for who your team is when there's desperation. And again, where the Flyers are at in the standings, they're comfortable, but there's no reason to be super comfortable. This was a humongous 2-point game today that they should have had. Ottawa's not a good team. And the Flyers, to be honest with you, played right into the kind of game Ottawa wants. They want to play easy. They want to have space on the ice. They want to have time to make plays. And they did that. They did that pretty much the whole second and third period. And the Flyers were reeling. They were on hang-on mode at the beginning of the third period. And the wheels came off. And you know what, Russ? I was saying earlier, right? We talked about the first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes of the period sets the tone for the rest. And sometimes when you fall into, when you're feeling good about stuff like that, you can get yourself in a good mode the rest of the game, but it didn't happen. Ottawa scored, they tied it, goal in front of the net, and it was Giroux, and then Ottawa, was feeling it after that. They're just playing with house money right now. They're done. Their season's going to be over in 3 months, and the Flyers are hoping that they can keep going and winning games and get a chance in the playoffs. But those are games today that you just cannot have. You can't play like that. You can't compete like that. The Flyers look completely gassed. One thing I do know is I think they played 2 of the 3 best games they could have played last week on the trip in Winnipeg, and then the home game against the Stars. And when you play like that, it's very hard to duplicate that effort. And sometimes I think you think in your own head as a team that you're going to be able to play like that every night, but that's just not how it goes. They need to just be consistent like they've been. I'm willing to chalk this game up today to just a bad loss, which happens, but their timing of it is kind of ugly, and that's what surprised me a little bit. I expected a lot more a fierce effort by the Flyers today to really solidify and get the 2 points, and it didn't happen.
Connor Allen going full Philly here on YouTube. City finally behind the Flyers, and they do this in back-to-back packed home games. A true Philadelphia team weekend. Incredible. It was just bad. There's spiral out, low energy after the first. Turnovers killed the boys today. A dud, says Allen. Mike thinks that Torts is going to be interesting. I'm not so sure about that. I guess we'll see. This was not good.
So, I mean, you look at Margie. I'm going to say Margie Rose. Oh, hang on one sec.
You got Junior Bundy over there.
Stay here.
Junior Bundy.
Sit down. Stay with me.
Interrupting the show. You hate to see it. He's a big kid.
My kid's getting escorted.
He's getting escorted?
He's here with me. Just keep him and his girl, Thanks very much. We allow the fans to have a look. Come sit down, Chris, over here. There you go. That's how you get your kid under control.
That's right. That's right. I'll tell you what. This was just brutal. When you think about it, Bundy, there were a few things that we said going into the last few games. You win against Dallas. The message after that one that we talked about post-game was, all right, you got a big win. You cannot fold and have a poor showing against Colorado. They had moments. They fought back.
They did.
Ultimately, the final score in that game wasn't great, but the effort was there. The fight back was there, which is what you want as a coach. Today was not okay under any circumstances. Usually we try to say, all right, let's see if there is a positive to find in this. We don't look for fluff, but we do look for something positive to take away. There really aren't many things to look at or to feel good about. Zamula had 2 goals. Farabee had a good goal. That's great. The team as a whole just looked disjointed. The effort level, the energy level, it never felt like it got kicked up into the next gear. They got started, they had moments, but it was not good.
Look at that. That guy's having fun. No, look at him dressed up like Gritty.
He had that is a look.
That's something else, boy. I'll tell you what.
Not quite as big as Gritty.
God bless them.
Yeah,
we still have fun.
We do still have fun up here. It's a silly podcast.
You know what, though? Like I was saying, someone had said, we're talking about the other stuff, too, in this game where Bobby Brink's been brought up. I've heard his name a couple times tonight. Delorier goes in the lineup. The Flyers go 11-7. And, yes, I will answer that question. I hate 11-7. It absolutely stinks. It sucks for the forwards, and it sucks even worse for the defensemen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why the 11-7 unless you – and remember, they have Mark Stahl, too, is at 8, right? Yep. Like the 8th defenseman. Yep. So
hey, all right, let's try something for the next game. How about 10-6? Does 10-8. 10-8 sound?
Absolutely not. That's even worse. That's even worse. That's even way worse. No, but what I'm saying, listen, it's pretty clear that Brink is not going to be here beyond Tuesday, I would guess. I mean, he's not playing. He's not a kid you want in the press box. He's not a guy you're going to want to try to carry him 7 minutes a night to on the fourth line. So they've made a pretty, I think, conscientious effort that he's not playing.
Agreed. And
he will not be back in this lineup until he probably goes to the minors and figures it out. That's my guess. I don't know that, but that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And that's what I have a pretty good feeling about it. But again, I just don't like the 11-7, and I don't want to ever say it catches up to a team, but today it felt like it kind of broke up a little bit too much in that game.
Just weird. Brandon Ficara says, not to be an alarmist, but that loss feels like the start of a skid. You certainly would hope not. If they're not careful, it could. I mean, the good thing they have tomorrow off.
Did you watch a team about 7 weeks ago called the Philadelphia Eagles, who were 10-1?
I don't recognize that name.
I'm just saying it, but I'm just saying that you can find out stuff that goes on, and I don't want to think this. There's been no reason to think the Flyers had a skid early. Was it maybe the end of October and November where they'd lost like 7 out of 8 or something? They picked up some points,
6 out of 8,
6 out of 7 or something like that.
Yep.
And people felt like,
Coach, that second goal that was reviewed, did they give you any additional clarification on that one goal?
I know you guys led for the bulk of this game, but did you ever feel like you guys were really playing your game?
Just we did not spend enough time in their end zone. We didn't generate enough. Against that team, you let some of their skill play more on your end. It's a recipe for not a really good game.
Obviously, when you guys are having success, you're limiting the other team's chances. Are you concerned that the grade A chances you've given up these last 2 games have concerned you?
No, I thought we played really good the last game. You're going to give up some grade A's against Colorado. And the part of the game I'm concerned here is just we didn't make enough plays. We did not establish forechecking. We were just one and done. In the second half of the game, we were just one and done. They generated so much momentum off of their goals. Once they scored, they generated momentum. We've got to learn, like we score that third goal, we have to play with a 2-goal lead for a while. Just for 5 or 6 minutes. We can't get hurt right away. And they generated momentum off it. Give them credit.
On Ottawa's 4th goal, the game winner, would you like to see Nick Sealer make a different play there, or is that just kind of...
Yes, you know the answer to that, obviously.
With regards to Ottawa, I know they're down far in the standings, but you guys haven't had a lot of clunkers this year, and this game, and way back in Game 2, it was against them as well. Is it something about the way they play that?
No, I don't have an explanation, but we did not play well tonight. I think we did for a bit, just in spurts. Power play helped us a little bit with a couple of goals, but I never felt comfortable behind the bench as far as where we were. It's a team I think you can get to in their end. We just weren't there enough. And you're not there enough, then you're there in your end zone, and they've got some quality people offensively.
Do you take just the positives from the power play and how it's really started to turn on now and keeping you in the games?
Yeah. I'm not. There's not many positives in my mind right now after losing a game like that. It wasn't a good game.
1 or 2 more. You talked about at times you predicted that your team would eventually sometimes have a dip. How confident are you that the locker room will respond well to 2 losses?
We're going to leave them alone tomorrow. We're ready to play our next game. That's all you can do. I trust the group.
Last one.
Yes.
And that's
It was short again. A little bit more than yesterday, but
a little bit more. I'm glad that at least he didn't sugarcoat this one. Like they've had games where he's kind of, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if the rainbows and smiles torts that he's been kind of putting up, or that he'd put up for the first half of the season when there were some poor moments and poor games, does feel like he's tried to be a little bit of a kindler, gentler torts. But this game clearly wore him down. Like this is clearly one that there's no spinning.
Well, as soon
just
as
how bad it was.
As soon as he said that we were one and done the second half of the game, that's enough that'll make a coach like that crazy. Because what he's saying is that there was no second efforts. One and done means you got your shot and you didn't really funnel towards the front of the net or to give that second push for a goal.
Yep.
So anytime you hear that's one and done, that's what it means. And that's will make a coach crazy, because this team can't be a one and done. That's why they've had success, because they continue to put effort in. They continue to do the hard things that it takes to score goals and to keep goals out of the net. So I think from that standpoint, that's what's endeared us to the Flyers this year. And this was a game today that was everything that we don't want to see and we haven't seen. So that's why there's disappointment.
Sealer had a really bad play. There's no sugarcoating that. Flyers Cup says, I don't care how many pucks Sealer eats, anyone making that kind of low IQ play in a tie game with 5 minutes left never deserves to see the ice. Turn your brain on. Sealer cost the team points today. Let me throw this to you. Did he, I mean, obviously there were a lot of guys who didn't play well, but did he in that moment cost the team points?
If you break down the game to that one play, yeah. And that's what it's going to tell you. That's what the video is going to tell you. Was it Nick Sealer's fault in this game? No. I mean, the team couldn't score another goal after they got the third one. I mean, goal scorers score, and that's what Torts was not happy, is because the guys didn't pour in the goals they needed in this game. Nick Sealer tried to make a pass. It got tipped, it hit the boards, and it allowed Ottawa to skate into a 2-on-1 that he got back to defend. Timing awful? Absolutely. Timing's brutal. I've been there before. I've made that kind of play. It happens. It happens to every defenseman in the league. But what happens and how it gets magnified is the moment in time it happens. And that was in a moment where the Flyers had lost yesterday. It was 3-3 with 4-something left in the third. And that's when the turnover happened. So I don't blame Nick Sealer for anything, because I know that guy's heart is in the right place. He plays hard. He does a lot of things. And he is what he is.
Yeah.
If you thought that was the wrong spot for him, then don't put him out in the ice with 4 minutes. But that hasn't been the case, right? That's all fair. I can say, yeah.
Other people mentioning that the team looked flat. There were questions about, like, Rob Greeley. Here, hold on, wrong one there. Rob Greeley says, if Tippett had been in the lineup today, is there a difference? It's hard. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like,
I can't answer that. I'd like to hope he'd continue playing the way he was, but there's no guarantee. You don't know what you're going to. This was a flat game today for the Flyers, and sometimes it doesn't matter who was in or who was out. It's just going to end up being like that. It was a weird game. These are the games you hate to lose the most, especially when you had a lead and you had some things going good. And then it's apparent to everybody in the building the Flyers just turned the gas off and said, we're just going to idle this baby right to the end, and you're not going to do it, because that feeds teams like Ottawa. Bad teams like that usually have a lot of skill, and they don't want to play top heavy. So what they do is they wait for you to go to sleep, and then they take advantage of it, and that's exactly what happened. And they played a lot more physical in the third with the puck, the Senators, because the Flyers allowed them to do so.
You know what I saw tonight, or this afternoon? I saw something that is going to be a talking point when we do the regular podcast this week, because this team, when you talk about the idea of the rebuild versus potentially trying to make a couple of tweaks, if you think you're going to make a playoff run and you're going to try to, if you buy into the idea of you owe it to these guys in the room to put them in position that if they're going to make a playoff run, that you're going to give them their best chance to do something in the playoffs. Today's one of those days where I look and go, all right, once again, 7 defensemen in the lineup, not ideal. You're already looking at a team that does have some issues at forward. You have Tyson Forster, who for long stretches of the season has not looked right, has not put the puck in the back of the net.
He's not a natural goal scorer. They think he is, but that might be there. I don't know about Forster. I like what he does outside, away from the puck, but I think that there's a feeling that he can score more, but it's just a lot of waiting for it to happen.
You have that. You have Bobby Brink, who is he going to get sent down? Is he going to just be a scratch? That's another concern. You have Tippett's injury. You obviously hope that he comes back and bounces back to the form that he was in. That this doesn't become an extended period of time that he's out, because you want him to kind of ride the hot, like he was the hot hand. You want to get him back in the lineup. I do think that what you see here is when things aren't clicking, and when the team we talked in the beginning of the season, the difference between this team taking a lead versus falling behind. They had a lead. They couldn't hold it. The energy wasn't there. All bad. The team didn't have enough scorers today. They didn't have guys who are naturally gifted enough to put the puck in the back of the net. And that is going to be something that we'll talk about this week, because if you are going to try to put this team in position to do something in the playoffs, you're going to have to make a tweak. I don't think you can go in with this forward crew as it's currently constructed.
Well, I before we hang up here and we're done, I implore people again to remember who this team was.
Sure.
And if they think there's something there, we're coming off seeing this team play, as I said, the best road and home game we've seen them play in a decade. I know you haven't watched that long, Russ, but I mean that. So we jumped the shark a little bit, and I always tell people, remember who we are, remember what this year was. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to lend a little bit of credence to the solutions at the end of the day. This has been a great year for this team. They've done a lot of great things. Mm-hmm. This was not a good game today, but they have another opportunity to go 2-2 at home with a win against Tampa on Tuesday. And it's not all so bad. It's not good. I said I would have rather had 6 or 7 points at home here.
Yep.
See it, Timmy. But that's not what really what didn't happen. Yep. So how do you adjust? You focus in on a Tampa team that's trying to turn the tables and to try to salvage their season. They're getting a little better, but at the same time, this is a game that should be all about the Flyers, not about the other team.
Agreed. We will be back later this week. Obviously, we have Tuesday. The Flyers are on the road taking on the Red Wings, so we'll plan on doing a morning after recap on Wednesday. They are home on Tuesday against the Lightning. Then Thursday, they're on the road against the Red Wings. We'll do a morning after on that Friday. And then Friday's also the alumni game.
Yep, I'll be playing in that.
Saturday, they are home against the Bruins. So we'll put out a schedule at some point on social media to give people an idea of when we're going to be doing it. We plan on having a pregame and a postgame show for the alumni game as well. Hopefully going to grab a bunch of those guys off the ice before and after. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing you out there. We'll see what kind of shenanigans you get yourself into in that game. But we'll put out a schedule to let people know when we're going to be doing this, and I think we'll try to plan on doing a regular episode of the podcast. It's been good to kind of do that macro show where we talk about the league a little bit too. So we'll put that out on social media. But big thank you to everybody who tuned in. Don't forget to go over to shop.snowthegoalie.com. Get your tickets for the live show March 16th at La Sicilia in Oxford. For Bundy, for Ant, for intern Andrew, I'm Russ. Thanks for tuning in.
See you soon, guys.
And thanks for, if you listen in the podcast feed after the fact, thanks for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. We will be back later this week here on The Press Row Show and Snow the Goalie, the only Flyers podcast.